This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and oh, happy times that we only thought in our most wild imagination would ever happen. What am I talking about? Well, Apple had their WWDC, Worldwide Developer Conference, which they have every June, yesterday, and this is where, besides, sometimes they announce some hardware, like the M2 redesigned MacBook Air that we will be reviewing, but mostly it's about new versions of iOS, iPadOS, macOS, that sort of stuff, right? And so, of course, there will be new versions, as there always are, typically released in September, and the iPad, right? Every year for years, like ever since the 12.9-inch I want to be your laptop replacement kind of model came out, we've all been hoping and waiting and saying maybe next year is when Apple's going to take this seriously, and instead of having a user interface that's still basically like a blown up phone interface, yes, it scales and apps are optimized for it and all that stuff is just wonderful, right? I mean, I'm not down on iPads, but functionally it functions a lot like an iPhone, which is crazy for something that's that powerful and 12.9 inches or even 11 inches. So finally, after all these years, Apple did it. They made big changes, and it didn't take massive things. Two things that are the most important, really, and one of them is called Stage Manager. So it's a new way of doing multitasking in Windows, and it's beautiful. I'm going to show you that now, and also proper support for external monitors. Instead of mirroring the iPad display and doing it in that bizarro aspect ratio that never matched 16:9 or any other kind of everyday desktop display you would have, right? Now you actually get full screen display on a monitor, and it functions as a second display, just like you would want. We're going to find out more now. All right, so you want to know more about like how you get this, right? So this was a developer conference. So right now this is a very early beta for developers. It's called Beta 1 for Developer Preview, right? That sort of thing. That said, if you're not a developer and you can't get the profile is what triggers the download from Apple's servers, so it's safe and is legit. You can use a website called betaprofiles.com to get the profile going. It is safe, and then it will automatically download from Apple's own servers and you'll get it. Caveat there is some things are glitchy. Most of the features that are established, normal things the iPad's always done, work pretty good. It's the new features that are not so stable, like external monitors and moving windows around, that sort of thing. I've seen it crash. Now it kind of just goes boop, goes away. You hardly know it crashed, but it will tell you that it crashed and all that sort of thing. Anyway, for those who are actually relying on their iPads to do some work, well, then you can actually wait until July, and that's when there's going to be public betas, and typically those are much more stable. So that's when you can try it out if you're adventurous, or you can just wait till September if you want it to all be baked and solid and all that sort of thing. So that's the story about that. All right, first up, let's talk about Center Stage. It's the new Multitasking Ui. Now, I really never liked the previous iteration from Apple, where you got your window open, so you got Safari open, and then you slowly drag to bring up the launcher bar at the bottom, and then you kind of try to drag an icon by pressing just hard enough to drag it, and then you can have it a little strip on the side or a split pane, you know, that sort of thing. It was cumbersome. It improved over the years. I mean, it used to be like I felt like I had to look up every time even how to make this work. But it wasn't really a computer stand-in kind of experience by any means. So now instead what you have with Center Stage, which is an option that you turn on and off from Control Center, just a little icon and tap on it. Then you've got your main window, which is floating, and a grab handle on the bottom corner, so you can grab and resize the window to any size that you want, and it scales properly. And then on the left side, you've got all your other currently running apps available. So you just tap on one of those, boom, you switch to it, tap, scroll, and it's so easy. It's just delightful. And in fact, this feature will also come to macOS Ventura, which is coming out this September as well. So for those of you who are just using your laptop display, where often it's hard to juggle a lot of windows, this could also be handy too. I don't think it's as much of a game changer as it is for the iPad, which lacked any kind of true, really good multitasking, but that'll be available too. Now the gotcha is that this new Stage Manager feature and the iPad external full resolution monitor support up to 6K monitors is only for M1 iPads, so the latest generation iPad Air and the M1 iPad Pro models. So that's kind of a bummer. And I mean, I should think honestly that the previous generation A12Z processor models could handle this as well, but probably Apple just spent the development time on the M1 processor for Mac and iPad, and I'm not thrilled by that, but that is what it is. So that's how you're going to get that center stage. Like I said, right now it's not always really stable, but it works well. You still have the traditional user interface available to you as well. So for those times when you're just watching a YouTube video full screen or Netflix or whatever, just stay in standard old-fashioned iPad mode and you've got that. This is just when you want to actually multitask to get work done and run a lot of apps and all that sort of thing. So in that context of productivity, I'm okay with that because that's the same way I've been working on laptops forever too. All right, next up is that external monitor support. Yay, finally. So when you don't want to just be working on that little iPad screen, right, you can plug in your monitor. Now, I was using two different models of LG 4K display, 27-inch, just your average, find them at Best Buy. They weren't too expensive at the time kind of displays. You can also use this with, you know, Apple's own studio display and anything else that you want. But you just take a USB-C to whatever your monitor accepts, whether it's USB-C monitor, HDMI, or DisplayPort, any of those work. I used a USB-C to DisplayPort cable to connect up the LG monitor and just straight USB-C on the other one. And it worked fine using the Magic Keyboard. So here's the thing. Now, it's hard to tell right now because it's so early if these things are bugs or intended that way. Now, when I use the Smart Keyboard Folio, the less expensive, more traditional flippy keyboard thing, I didn't have it behave in the new, neat fashion that it should. So perhaps it's the trackpad on the Magic Keyboard. Maybe if you're using an external monitor, they want to know you have a pointing device. I don't know, or it's just a bug. Anyway, put it in the Magic Keyboard or use it with a mouse or a trackpad and all that sort of thing. And when you plug in the external monitor, it automatically goes into use the entire screen, no more funny black bars, you know. And also it puts a center stage sort of user interface on the external monitor. So there you go. If you want to have big stuff going on the big monitor, probably not something like Procreate because you want to be applying the pencil directly to the screen if you're doing something like art, right? But you've got that going on. So finally, I mean, before it was just an atrocity the way external monitors work with iPads. So much horsepower, right? I always felt like well, I bought this M1 iPad Pro 12.9 inch and this very expensive Magic Keyboard, and like I was never really getting them to live up to the potential of an M1 MacBook Pro or MacBook Air, despite the horsepower inside. Sure, you can play the most demanding, graphically fancy games on it, and it's better for video editing, but beyond that, it kind of felt like a little bit of a waste. Now it doesn't anymore. By the way, you do not have to have the iPad in the new Stage Manager mode to use an external display in its new full resolution glory. So you can actually still have the iPad itself doing the normal full screen kind of thing and have the monitor be doing its own thing as well. So that's a nice little bit of flexibility there. So on to other things. I mean, the other things are very nice, and most of the updates are being shared with iOS. Things like Safari now having the new passkey feature, passwordless websites, so no password stored on servers, you're less vulnerable to security breaches. Shared tab groups, you can share tabs with other people. Be careful if you're not safe for work content and accidentally sharing those. I'm a little afraid of that right now. We don't want to know, have everybody I'm working with know that I've been shopping for Nike shoes when I'm supposed to be researching my next video. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. And we have also the ability with messages, you know, iMessage, to unsend a message and also to edit a message after the fact. Hello, Twitter. Imagine if you could do that on Twitter. Tweets, but editable. Well, obviously, for law enforcement purposes, this makes messages pretty much useless now, which maybe Apple wants, because who wants to have to deal with all that stuff? But anyway, that's pretty cool, too. Also, you have SharePlay now in messages, not just in FaceTime video calling, and I think that's pretty neat too. So you want to have a watch party or whatever going, you can do it via messages. I think a lot of people prefer that over just using FaceTime. So a lot of other little things going on there. Again, iOS will see most of those features as well. Obviously, not the multi-window system and not the full monitor support, but that's why I'm so excited though. The stuff that actually makes the iPad more powerful as a laptop replacement, finally, that Apple's been touting for years. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.